Welcome back to this PHP full course on Ednite technologies. In this video, we're going to talk about the post and the get method. So, the whole reason why we have a front end and a back end in a website is actually so both of them can communicate. The front end sends a request to the back end and the back end sends back a response. So when sending requests from the front end, there are two methods or two ways that you can send a particular request. Is it that this request is sent using the post method, or this request is sent using the get method? So in this video, we're going to talk about the get and the post, explain everything we need to know when getting requests from our front end or when getting data from the front end of any website. So let's dive right in. So I'm going to create a front end file. I'll name this form.html. Sorry, I wanted to say form, not from. As I mentioned earlier in this course that you need a little knowledge of HTML in order to actually fully understand this course. Although even if you do not have any knowledge of HTML, it is not that hard to actually work with. So HTML is very easy. It's the language that is used for creating the front end of every website. It creates the main skeleton of a website. So we are going to write a little HTML and we are going to style it a bit with CSS. So in case what I just said now is sounding a bit confusing, you can easily take my HTML and CSS full course, which is still on our channel. So you just go to our channel, search for HTML and CSS full course. But in case, even if you not have any knowledge in that, it should not really be that hard for you to follow along. So the first thing we need to do is to get my document structure. So I'm going to be using this shortcut from VS Code. I just get the exclamation mark, then when I click enter, I get my whole structure, my whole document structure. So I'm going to change this to working with get and post. So now whenever it comes to sending a request from your front end, it always have to be associated to a form in some way, because only a form can actually send a request. Only when a form is submitted is a request sent. Although you can actually send a request from your JavaScript, but when you're not working with JavaScript, the only way to send requests to your backend is using the form. So I'm going to get the form. So now the form takes two attributes to actually function properly. The first is the action attribute and the second is the method. Now the action attribute is we are supposed to pass in the location of the file that we want to actually submit this form to. Where do we want to go after submitting this form? The data that will be submitted that entered to this form, where should this data go? So for now, my backend file is index.php. So I'm going to submit this form to index.php. Now for the method, how do we want to submit this form? Do we want to submit using the post method or the get method? So first of all, we will try using the get method. So now let's get some inputs into this. So I'm going to select get an input. So whenever you are working with your backend, your inputs are not complete if they don't have a name, because the name is actually how you can address it in your backend. The only way you can address this input in your backend when working with PHP is through the name. So now I'm going to name this, the name of this is going to be full name, because we are going to be getting the full name from the user. So I'm going to also put a placeholder, and I'm going to write enter full name. So I'm going to add another input. This time around, this input will be for an email. So the name will be email, and the type as well will be email. And I'll add a placeholder. No, I don't need an ID for now. I'll add a placeholder, and it will be enter email. So that a form is not complete if there is no button, so we are going to add our button. So this button is supposed to be a submit button, so I'm going to type in submit in there. So when I save this, all I have to do is to run this particular page. So I'm going to change this to form. So sorry, it is form.html. So we have our form. So now let's talk about what the get and the post method is. As I said earlier, the get and the post method, these are methods that we can send requests to the backend. So first of all, we are taking the get. So the get method works this way. Let's say name. My name is Emmanuel. Okay. So I'm going to also enter an email. So I'm just going to pick one from here. So now I'm going to submit this. So when I submit this, now note we are now in the index.php file, and look at the URL. Look at information that got passed in. First of all, my full name, you can see it is Emmanuel Okeke. We have my email, and my email is, you see it. So now the get method send this request or data using the URL. Understand? That is how the get method works. So whenever we want to send information and we want that information to be part of the URL, we are going to use the get method. Now the get method is not actually used to pass secured information, something like a password or a pin or something that is supposed to be private. It's not a good practice to use the get method to pass those kind of information, because the get method, whenever you use the get method, the information are going to be displayed on the URL. They are going to be displayed here, as you can see here. So now inside my PHP, my index page, so right now I can actually get the information that was sent to this page. So now I can echo something. So let me echo. So I want to get the information that was passed, or the request that was passed to this page. Then which method was this request passed? It was passed using the get method. So I'll use the get global variable, and then the name is full name. Most times it's actually advised not to use spaces, not to give spaces whenever you are naming you are giving names. I personally, I don't like it. So whenever instead of using the a space, use an underscore. So now I will save this as well. So now I just need to go back and then reload this page, then enter my name, Emmanuel, and just enter an email. So when I submit, so you can see I have Emmanuel here. So I'm able to get the information or the data that was passed into this page. I can equally get the email if I want. So I'm going to do some string concatenation here. We will still talk about string concatenation. String concatenation is when we kind of add two strings together, when we concatenate strings together. Now I also want to get the email that was passed into this page. So I'll use the get method because it was passed in using the get method, and the name is email. Now you can notice how I'm able to address it is using the name, just as I told you. The name is what is used to get data that was sent to your back end. So we can see my email here and we can see my name here. So we see how we can get information from our front end to our back end using the get method. So let's talk about the post method. So we are going to change this to post. So now the post, on the other hand, it's like a more secured version or a more secured method to work with, because of information that are sent using the post method do not actually display on the URL. So for example, I can pass in my name. This time around I'm going to be a John Mike. Then my email is just going to be something. Then I'm going to submit this. So when I submit this, I get an error, but note at the URL. The URL, you can see none of those information, none of those data was actually sent, like it's being displayed in my URL. The reason why I get this error is because of I'm still trying to address them using the get. So right now I'll use the post global selector. So I'll change that get to post, because right now the information are being sent using a post method. So right now when I reload this page, you can see I get the information that was passed into this page. And also something, when I refresh this, you see those data no longer exist. So that is why using the post method is actually more secure. You can use it to pass in things like password, pin, any secure information. So this is how we can work with the get and the post method. It is very easy. All we just need to do is to make our form, then enter the location of the back end or where we want to submit this form to, then the method that we want to submit this form with. So we can either go with a get or a post. I hope right until now you've understood what the get and the post are supposed to do, and I gave you some instance of scenarios where you can use the get or where you can use the post. But you use the get when you want to pass in information that are not that secured. Most use case for me myself, I use the get mostly when I want to pass information, even still in the front end. I use it most times to pass information across pages. The post method, on the other hand, is a more secured version that is not easy to be accessed just by looking at the URL. You have to be able to, you have to actually write the code in order to actually be able to access variables or data that are sent using the post method. So thank you for watching this video. If this video was helpful, like, subscribe, See you in the next video, where we are going to work on a pet project. We are going to build a simple calculator where our users will be able to enter a number, enter an operator, enter another number, and then get the answer of whatever operation that was sent. So now, thank you for watching. See you in the next section.